To thank everybody for joining us today on another one of our Basic Coatings webinar series, 20-minute discussions. For those of you that do not know me, I'm Robert McNamara. I'm the Director of Marketing and Sales for Basic Coatings. And the presenter for us today is Tim Nathan, who's out of, I can't remember the city in Wisconsin.
Fort Atkinson.
Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. Tim covers the Midwest for us. He's also our stain guru. He's going to be doing the presentations for us today. For those of you that want to send in questions, there's a little button on your Zoom meeting where you can type in questions. If you can't figure that out, you can text me. My text number is 216-633-4124. And while Tim is doing his video and PowerPoint, I'll start logging in the questions. So basically the format is 5 minutes of a video and then a few minutes of a PowerPoint. Tim's going to go over some specific points, and then we're going to turn it over to questions and answers. And before you know it, 20 minutes will go by.
HyperTone stains are an incredibly versatile product that enable you to change the color of and tone wood floors in a variety of ways. In this video, we will show you a few different methods of using HyperTone stains. HyperTone stains can be used as a traditional wood floor stain with a richness, consistency, and depth of color not found in other stains. When compared to traditional solvent-based stains, HyperTone stains are low odor, easy to clean, and there are no concerns about spontaneous combustion and fires with discarded rags. In addition to these unique features, we are now extremely pleased to announce that HyperTone stains can be used as a tint additive in approved Basic Coatings water-based finishes. This new option changes the game and opens up all types of opportunities and solutions for wood flooring professionals, whether your projects are high-end residential, commercial, or sports floors. Imagine the benefits of adding HyperTone stain as a tint into your finish instead of having to use paint on your floors. When using HyperTone stains as a traditional wood flooring stain, prepare the floor using NWFA or MFMA guidelines. Vacuum and tack the floor to remove any dust or debris. As with most hardwood flooring stains, uniformly water popping is recommended to open the grain and allow more consistent, deeper, and richer color penetration. Since this product is a unique water-based formula, there is no need to wait for the floor to dry completely before beginning application of stain, but do not apply to flooring that has standing water or puddles. Apply stain directly to the floor using a roller in 3 to 4 foot strips, working across the floor with the grain. Use thick terry cloth rags to remove excess stain and blend to a uniform appearance. Once application of stain is complete, wait 15 to 20 minutes. Then allow increased and balanced air movement and fresh air exchange to help dry the stain. Once the stain is dry, apply an appropriate Basic Coatings sealer and finish. Please refer to the Basic Coatings HyperTone stain technical data sheet and hand application video for complete information on this application method. You can use HyperTone stains to tint approved Basic Coatings water-based finishes for sand and finish work, as well as screen and recoat jobs. Prepare the floor using NWFA or MFMA guidelines for sanding and or screening. When using HyperTone stains as a tint, use only in specifically approved Basic Coatings water-based finishes. A complete list can be found in the HyperTone stains technical bulletin. Wood flooring needs to have at least one coat of an approved Basic Coatings sealer before applying tinted finish. Allow the sealer to dry per instructions on the label. The amount of stain you add to the finish will depend on the color and level of opacity you want to achieve. However, we do not recommend exceeding a 1 to 10 stain to finish ratio. This translates to a maximum of 12.8 ounces of stain to a gallon of finish. When tinting finish, mix each product separately according to label directions prior to combining. Then combine the products by pouring into a container large enough to hold the materials. Then continue to blend with a stir stick until the products are mixed and uniform in color. Using a T-bar or trim pads will yield the best results. Avoid using a roller. Use care to apply the tinted finish in a uniform thickness. The initial coat of tinted finish can appear streaky. As you apply subsequent coats, the tinted finish should appear more uniform in color. 2 to 3 coats may be required to achieve a desired look. HyperTone stains are versatile enough to be used in place of paint for your sport flooring needs, including game lines. This is best accomplished using a professional-grade foam sleeve or paint pad. Apply HyperTone stains mixed with finish in a manner similar to paint. This includes abrading between coats, applying within 24 hours of a previous sealer or finish coat, and allowing adequate dry time before applying another coat on top. Coating procedures will vary based on the desired colors and opaqueness. However, Most applications will likely require at least 2 coats. The benefits of using HyperTone stains to tint finish instead of using paints include the virtual elimination of color transfer when abrading, as well as the improved compatibility between coats, which reduces chipping and peeling. Important tips. Application of tinted finishes can be challenging. Therefore, prior to attempting on a real job site, it's strongly recommended you work on a test floor to become familiar with your application method. This will help ensure product satisfaction and prevent potential job site issues. Always use new applicators. The ratio of stain to finish is highly dependent on the desired color and look. It is important to abrade the sealer coat prior to applying tinted finish. Abrade the sealer so that the sealer coat is not shiny. It needs to be dull to achieve a proper bond. Turns and feathering out will show if not done properly. Avoid making turns when possible by going with the grain and pulling off onto masking material. Do not apply more than 2 water-based products in a single day. If you are interested in basic coatings, HyperTone stains, and all the ways they can be used, we are here to help. You can find more detailed application instructions on our website. Just go to the HyperTone Stains product page and click the HyperTone Stains technical bulletin in the resources section. Or contact us directly at 1-800-441-1934, and we can put you in touch with a basic coatings product expert to help you with any questions about our system.
That was that came through really good, Tim.
Good. I didn't share it quite right, but hey.
Right.
Technical difficulties in the afternoon.
Yeah, well, that's the live webinars. My neighbor decided to start cutting his lawn right now too. So I don't know whether you can hear that, but that's 2020, man.
It is. All right. Let's move on to the next step so we can get to those wonderful questions that we're building all day today. Come on. There it goes. All right. Except, again, I need to go back to the beginning. Wasn't reset like I thought it was. Well, folks,
Giving us you're watching the movie backwards, man.
Can't be a tech guy. Come on. I can't wait to hear the questions after this one. Which steps do you do
Well, the
first?
way you're showing it, you're taking it off the floor.
All right, so here we go. Tinting finishes with HyperTone. So the word of the wise, call me about HyperTone. Don't call me about how to do a Zoom meeting and a PowerPoint. So HyperTone is kind of a crazy new concept in the market we're pretty excited about. As I said, if you were on earlier today, we're pretty much the first manufacturer that's really going to want to stand behind this idea of tinting finishes. We've taken the time in the lab, we've taken the time with vetting out application ideas and concepts so that you can feel trusting that when you put HyperTone in our finishes, you know, whether it's Street Shoe or whether it's Easy Street, it is not going to peel off the floor. You won't have issues with adhesion. And that's been the #1 concern. The other benefit to HyperTone in our finish system is it's properly suspending itself into the coating. So you're not challenging yourself on whether or not the product is going to have inconsistencies of color as you're applying it on the floor, like may happen with other incompatible tints and finishes. Obviously, the goal for here is for us to excite you on what the color can do beyond the norm that guys typically do on floors, staining and coating, staining and coating. Here we have the ability to add to the depth of color to help resolve a customer frustration or to create unique colors on a floor. Again, as I said, HyperTone in its formulation naturally suspends, naturally blends with our coatings. The sport industry has been doing a lot of this for many, many years, and we'll jump into residential shortly, but as you can see with some of these slides coming up ahead, you're getting much richer colors. We can go anywhere from a transparent tone, seeing a ton of wood grain still available, to completely opaque, nearing a paint. We're really excited that the product has far better color resistance and fade resistance due to its automotive pigments, and being that it's suspended in a finish at a lower concentration than paints typically are, you have less likely to have a concern for chipping. The goal is to have a product that, because they work so well, you have better control of your application. You can blend with higher concentrations to get deeper colors or more opaqueness. Though at that level, we do recommend T-bar application. It's been kind of our experiences so far. But the joy is now with the sport industry, you can create all sorts of unique color concepts with these patterns and vinyl masks that are put down and still allowing the vibrancy of wood grain to show through. So you can see in this slide that the project offers some versatility. On the left, we're doing a lettering concept. So they have a naming of the court. As you're moving across, you can see steps that get you two color concepts. For guys who are residential, this is how a lot of the sport guys are able to achieve these really unique concepts and these graphics in the floors. I didn't come from that industry originally, so a lot of this has been a lot of fun for me to get to know. But you can still see the wood tones coming through in that purple and yellow, which I think enhances the vibrancy of the color. And that's where I think a lot of the groups are taking note of what we're doing. Okay, come on, slide. Now it's pushing back at me. There we go. So here's another one where we like to show that you have to stack the color to achieve the end result. If you try and do too much in one shot, it challenges you to get application streaks or inconsistencies. And the best then route to take is to be able to stack in increments to achieve the depth of color. So it does require, if you've never done this before, do some sampling, do some shop work or hand sampling so that you get a sense of the concentration and the end goal you're looking for. It's slow to move. There we go. Here we show a project that one of our coworkers, Josh Frank, was working on, where they wanted to add color to a floor, an existing floor. And this has really been an exciting concept where we can have a stained look on top of a floor that could be as much as 20 years old. So we braided it down, we added different steps, as you can see the migration across, ending up with a really rich purple floor at the end. And when you peel everything off and you see the end result, still seeing wood tone through, but yet getting that purple look added to that floor really made the school excited. This was a project in Illinois where they wanted to go to a heavier concentration to more of an opaque look. And we're all said and done. They were really impressed by how bright the white was, even though you see a subtle bit of wood tone pop through. That just made them ecstatic. The color was vibrant. The wood tone was subtly there. It added another level of dimension to the look. So here in this video, we try to grab a little bit of an image on how it is for application in a large format, like in a sport environment. Sorry about the streaming, but the goal is to put it on evenly and uniform and then come back and pull all your lines straight. Again, I apologize. We must have a little bit of an internet lag here. But after this contractor has gotten it all put on, he comes back across where he started and starts pulling everything out nice and even, leaving that floor with a kind of a clean, crisp, even color tone. So let's get on to the residential conversation. We've all asked that question from a homeowner, you know, can you add a little bit of this? Can you make it brighter, darker? That's what I like about this idea of tinting with a product that I can rely on, that it's not going to fail with causing fish eyes and things like that, or peeling or whatever, because the products weren't compatible and I was taking the risk on my own shoulders as a contractor. We can adjust the color mid-project. We can add tone to a recoat. We can create all sorts of custom concepts like faux finish concepts with the idea of being able to tint finish on top of a floor that's already sealed. I will say though that in the residential world, as you saw in that sport video, you don't always have the ability to pull perfectly straight lines. So we do recommend that you take a little bit lower concentrations in your amount that you add to the finish. Start off in the lower quantities so that you build up a little bit of confidence in the product and what you can do with the application technique you favor. As I discussed, you can roll and T-bar with this, with lower concentrations. You can then control how the look is in the end result. It's just behind me here. There we go. So here's an example of a floor where the homeowner wanted to save this older wood and the look of this older wood. So you can see the floor at the bottom of the picture that still has some of the black, the weathering, and the contractor had a hard time getting the color to take the way he wanted. Now, right on the top end of that picture is the depth of tone that they were really looking for, but he couldn't achieve it with a stain. So after calling us, he was able to then seal the wood up, add some tone to his finishes, do some tone coats on the floor, and yield that rich warmth that the homeowner was looking for. This was a project where we discussed recoat questions. They had this floor, for whatever reason, it could not be sanded and finished. Whether or not it was an inconvenient scenario or the wood, I don't recall in the story, but they wanted it to be almost as dark as those doors. So that is not impossible in the residential world, but as we state here, you really want to do that in multiple coats. And this was the result. They were able to add a significant amount of depth, not necessarily to the level of the door, but they did set an expectation with the homeowner, and they were still ecstatic when it was all said and done. So the custom concepts I was discussing, this is where I really want to kind of have an in-depth look at what can we do. I made this little time lapse for you, so check it out. So I always felt that my house should be my testing ground. If I had an idea, I would always like to kind of vet it out in my own place. That way, if something went wrong, I'd have a sense of what to advise a guy on. But in the two pictures you see here, the one on the left, I used my own little dining room to create a faux finish border with just tinted finish. So it's just a little simple idea, but if you look at the one on the right, another contractor friend of mine took it to a next level. He wanted to do something really unique in this foyer area, and I thought it turned out remarkable. It's an extended amount of tape time, but I think there's an opportunity to look at some of these vinyl companies and make masks. That way you can make it simpler on yourself to create these custom concepts. So there you go. Let's hit some questions.
That's certainly pretty cool there. So when I did some testing of the border, I didn't do such a good job with the blue tape. So can you talk a little bit about how hard that, how to apply that tape so you don't get that bleed through? Because you did a very good job on that.
Well, actually, the key is initially how you prep the floor. So if you have an existing floor, it has to be thoroughly cleaned and thoroughly abraded so that the floor is smooth enough so that the tape can press tight to the surface. Anytime there's a situation where there's texture or any kind of contaminant on the surface, the tape isn't going to do its job to bond to the surface. The next step is to either back roll it or back press it with like a Bondo knife so that it's nice and firm and tight to the floor surface.
Okay. You kind of went over it in the webinar, but I don't know that you specifically mentioned it. But one of the questions was, can you tint the finish to hide the red in Brazilian cherry?
To some degree, yes. I would rather you go back to HyperTone. If you're going to really try and kill red, you really should stain directly to Brazilian cherry with HyperTone stain to really neutralize the red. A tint coat can only do so much. Otherwise, you end up just basically painting the floor to mask it that much.
Okay. That was, we certainly show plenty of that Brazilian cherry.
Yeah.
One of the questions that came up this morning is, can you go over pre-finished wood floors?
Yeah. Once again, make sure it's good and clean of any contaminants. Make sure it's thoroughly abraded for good adhesion. Make sure you pick a system that's going to work to make sure that everything bonds. And then you just basically add the HyperTone to the street shoe. I favor street shoe with recoats. I like the product. I will say this though, anytime you do a tint coat, I wish I put it in my slideshow, always consider putting a clear coat on top. There's always a risk that if there's a scratch, it could scratch down deep enough that the repair would be challenging. If it's clear coated, you got a better chance of protecting that tint coat.
That was actually one of the questions that came up. How do you sample the tint coat on a pre-finished wood floor? And we are running out of time quick, Tim. So
Huge mystery. You got to find an indiscriminate place, a closet, some place where you can tell the homeowner up front that I need to do a sample. It may not be something I can cover up, but it is a tough thing to do.
can I create a Ceruse effect?
Not with just a tint coat. It's going to mask it. It doesn't highlight the grain the way the Ceruse system is supposed to do.
What about when you're using it as a stain?
Stain itself, if you try and do two coats of stain, they'll mask each other and then you have adhesion concerns. The best way to Ceruse is use our stain as a base and then call upon a different manufacturer who makes a hard wax colored oil or a penetrating colored oil. But make sure you do your own testing. We don't test the compatibility of our products with others.
Okay. What options do you have for a really white floor? That'll be the last question.
Well, HyperTone is probably the most dominant white stain on the market right now, being that it's water-based, it doesn't have an underlying yellow component, being that it's an automotive pigment, it has some of the most vibrant tone to it. So using HyperTone itself as a white stain on the floor is yielding the brightest whites we've seen on the market so far. If you need to go further, then you would tint coat with white on top of that.
Okay. So with that, we're going to kind of wind this thing down. I got to change something here. Change my virtual background because I'm not really in this fancy house. This is the fancy house I'm in. But just want to remind everybody that we have a Floor of the Month, Floor of the Year contest going on these days. The picture that was in the backdrop of my video here was actually the Floor of the Year for a residential job last month. All the contractor has to do is basically post their pictures on Instagram and hashtag WoodFloorProud. They automatically get entered in the contest. If they win it in the month, they get $250 worth of basic coatings materials for free. And then they're automatically entered in the Floor of the Year contest. The winner of the Floor of the Year contest for sport gets a fancy custom painted tape machine and the telephone, it's not telephone, what's the word I'm looking for? Telegraphing arm. And then the commercial residential contractor gets a TS55 from Festool. That's always the tough one. I can never remember Festool. I don't know why. But anyway, with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us. And if you enjoyed this webinar, if you can pass it along to other contractors or distributors, we would appreciate it. And thank you for your time. Tim, Nathan, fantastic job as always. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Stay safe out there.